I'm glad you are all able to join us tonight. I'm Adrienne Cabana, so I'm a veterinarian and I'm the program coordinator of the Vet Tech program. I'm also a professor in several of the courses. And my goal tonight really is twofold. One, I want to kind of talk to anybody who is interested in this field and learning more about it and trying to figure out if this is something that they're interested in pursuing. And then also for the students who are know that they're interested in veterinary technology, I want to answer some questions for them as to really what are the next steps they should be pursuing in order to work towards that goal. So we're going to be talking about both of those things tonight. I'm going to be starting with a presentation, and then also you guys all have the option of submitting questions via a chat. Those will come to me. They go to a different host and then come through to me afterwards. And so I may not be stopping during the lecture to talk or during the presentation to talk about those. I'm probably going to be saving all of those for the end. All right, but please feel free to ask me any questions that you have. So we're talking about the veterinary technology program, and this is a 2-year associate's degree. Okay, so it's designed as a 2-year program that can be completed in that time frame if you're going full time. We're going to be talking later about prerequisite courses. And if you are actually starting college without any prior college coursework at all, and no AP coursework from high school, then this program is actually going to take you more than 2 years to complete. So we'll be talking more about that. That will become clear as we go through. Um, we do, though, have a fair number of students who go through this program part-time, and that's usually due to work requirements, life requirements, commitments outside of the program. And we recognize that that is an issue for a lot of students. They're not able to commit to being a full-time student. And so we do have a part-time sequence of courses that you can go through, which is spread out over 4 years. All right. You can do it in between. You can do it at in 3 years as well. But because of the way our courses are set up and lead into each other with prerequisites and everything, if you go through the program in 3 years, what ends up happening is 2 of those years are pretty part-time and one of them is really full-time. There's simply no other great way to arrange those courses. Um, what we usually do when students apply to the program is I do individual advising once they're accepted, and we take a look at your academic strengths as a student. We take a look at your work life, your outside of school commitments, and we figure out really what is the best way for you to go through this program, whether it's full-time or part-time, that's going to give you the best chance at success. And so that's something that, again, we have all options from completely full-time to completely part-time and a couple options in between, and we'll talk about that on an individual basis once you're accepted to the program. Um, this program is a combination of studying in lectures and working in labs and doing hands-on skills. So we have a beautiful facility, a beautiful on-site hospital where students are able to learn and practice working with small animals. We also go out to area farms so that you can learn to work with large animals and practice those skills as well. And then in addition, as part of the program, you complete 2 externships. So these externships are each completed at area hospitals, and they need to be completed at different hospitals so that by the time you graduate, you actually have a fair amount of background and experience working in hospitals as well. The total time commitment, there's 280 hours. So you leave this program pretty well ready to just jump into working in a hospital setting. The next couple of slides show our facilities, our on-site facilities for teaching. So the Joyner Health Science Center is where all of the vet tech courses are taught, the classes and the labs, and it's a beautiful new facility. So we have 2 brand new classrooms. So on the lower right-hand side, you can see one of our new classrooms where all of your vet tech courses are held. And then up in the upper left-hand corner, is one of our laboratories. So this is where we perform anything to do with microscopy. So our anatomy and physiology lab, our laboratory procedures lab, and parasitology labs are all held here. So this is where students learn how to look at blood smears, how to evaluate urinalyses, how to do fecals, things like that. And then the other two pictures here are taken in our hospital. So part of the same building is essentially a state-of-the-art brand new veterinary hospital facility. So we have digital radiology machine and ultrasound, all of that. And then this is one of up in the upper right-hand corner. This is one of our two kind of mock exam rooms that we use when we work with patients to perform wellness care. On this slide up in the left, you can see our reception area. This is where students will practice patient intake and discharge for the animals that we see. The lower left is our treatment area where not students, but patients are prepped before surgery. And here you can see a student learning to place an intravenous catheter in a dog and another student learning to perform a dental prophylactic cleaning in a dog. This dog is under anesthesia for a dental as well. Students intubating for anesthetic procedures. So these are all real life things that you need to do as a veterinary technician. And in this program, you learn first how to do those in lecture, then you practice on mannequins. And then before you leave the program, you get to actually do all of these things in real life on real live patients, very well supervised so that you get a great learning experience and everybody stays safe in the process. And we do all of our large animal work off-site. Okay, so we'll go to area farms, for example, and work with various species. So again, you'll be practicing worming, deworming procedures, vaccinations, blood draws, things like that. Okay, so we've talked a bit about what you're doing while you're in the program. So let's talk about what you would do after you graduate. All right, and there are really two main options for how you can use your degree from Northwestern, your degree in veterinary technology. So I want to talk about each of these a little bit in detail. So one option is to take the national board exam and then practice as a vet tech. So the national board exam is an exam that is run nationally, so it's the same for students in all areas of the country and Canada as well. They take the same exact exam, and it's the goal of veterinary technology programs across the country to prepare their students to take this exam so that they can pass. In all states but three in the country, and Connecticut is one of those three, there is some form of licensing or registering of veterinary technicians, which involves passing this exam. Now, Connecticut is right now one of three states where you do not have to have passed the national board exam in order to work as a veterinary, as a licensed or a registered veterinary technician and do all these things that you learn how to do in the program. We are hopeful that that's going to change. There's legislation in the works to try to make that change in the future. And, we always like to really stress to our students why it's still so important to go through this program, even though it's not legally required at this point. And one reason, and I hope you'll understand better after watching this presentation, is you'll see the things that you do as a veterinary technician are difficult, they're complicated, and they have a direct impact on patients' health. And to do those things without the proper training is really not something that, you know, you would want your dog or cat to undergo. You would want your pet to be treated by someone who's undergone the proper training and really knows what they're doing. So I think that will become apparent once we talk about all of the things that veterinary technicians actually do. In addition, though, it's really important for you to understand that if you were to move to another state after, at any point in the future, even if you've been working in this field and are an excellent veterinary technician, if you haven't passed your boards, you're not going to be able to practice in almost every other state. And we do have students who graduate, don't take their boards, end up working as a veterinary technician in the field in Connecticut, and then for whatever reason need to move, whether it's 3 years or 5 years or 10 years down the line due to a spouse, some family change or something else. So, and then when that happens, suddenly they find themselves unable to continue to work in their profession without taking the board exam. And it is difficult to take that exam 10 years after you graduated from school. You want to take it when right when you've graduated and all that knowledge is fresh. So we very strongly recommend people go through this program. We believe it's going to be required in the future in Connecticut as well as elsewhere in the country, although I can't tell you exactly when that change will occur. All right, so one option is you take your board exam and you work as a vet tech, okay? And we're going to be talking about that in quite a bit more detail to come. Another option is that you use this as a stepping stone towards further education in animal science and possibly even veterinary medicine. So there is an articulation agreement. That means an agreement with UConn, whereby students who graduate from our program with a GPA of usually something like 2.7 to 2.9 or higher are able to enter UConn's animal science or pathobiology degrees. And these are two excellent Bachelor in Science degrees that are available, and they have pre-vet tracks associated with them. What that means is that many students use these majors at UConn to get all of their pre-veterinary requirements to apply to vet school. All right, so we have, depending on the year, some years we have no students who take this option, some years we'll have maybe two or three, so it really varies. But this is an option for students who are interested in pursuing higher studies like veterinary medicine or either other areas of animal science. This can be a great way to help get you there. So if you take the option, the first option, you decide you want to you pass your boards and then work as a veterinary technician, the vast majority of people who graduate with veterinary technology degrees work in small animal veterinary hospitals. And that is true of our graduates as well. Probably 98% of them graduate and work in a small animal veterinary hospital. That means working with cats and dogs, working with exotics, small mammals, things like that. It can be in a day practice, a general practice, or in a specialty hospital. All right, there are plenty of specialty hospitals around in this state now that you really have the options of doing either. But there are some other jobs that are options too for a veterinary technician, and we're not going to get into as much detail about those, but it's important to know that these options exist. So teaching, working for humane societies, working in various industries like diagnostic laboratories, like some of you may have heard of companies like IDEX or Antech. They're companies that do run a lot of diagnostic tests for veterinarians. You can work for pharmaceutical companies or other laboratory companies that provide veterinary supplies. Going into the military service, and even people will do that through veterinary school as well, and work on different bases around the world. You can work in something like herd health or herd management, animal nutrition, barn management, things like that in large animal fields. You can get into biomedical research, or you can go into some kind of lesser known areas of veterinary technology, working with zoo animals, working with wildlife animals. So there are a lot of different options out there, kind of the path less traveled. And so you really are not stuck in any one particular field, one particular area when you have this degree. It's really, really important to know if you're considering this field that you are going to be in demand. Once you get this degree and pass your boards, especially, you are going to be in demand. We get calls and emails all the time from veterinary hospitals in the state who are desperate for veterinary technicians. They, especially well-trained, knowledgeable veterinary technicians, they are in demand. There's been really significant growth over the past decade, and that is, if anything, even expected to increase over the next decade. So you will have your choice of job opportunities, assuming you are good at what you do once you graduate with this degree. And this is, again, just kind of a reminder that there are some other things you can think about. These are a little bit harder fields to get into. So there are plenty of job options if you want to work in a small animal veterinary hospital. If you want to work in zoo medicine, for example, or aquatic medicine, that might be a little bit tougher to get those jobs. Those often have internships that you need to apply for. You know, there may only be a handful of spots around the country. So those are a bit tougher fields to get into, but this is still the appropriate the appropriate first step to get into those fields. So they're just a little bit, the jobs are a little bit harder to come by. All right, so now I want to talk about what a veterinary technician is, what a veterinary technician does, and really what kind of person is well suited to become a veterinary technician. Because I think if you don't understand those three things, you can't really know if this is the right field for you and this is really what you want to pursue. So technicians have an incredibly wide variety, a diverse number of skills that they need to be able to perform. And one of the things I often like to think about or talk to people about is to imagine your own experiences in healthcare and how many different people you encounter if you are, you know, going about your business, seeing appointments for yourself in terms of healthcare, right? So as we go through the next couple of slides, we'll talk about how many different jobs in the human healthcare field are filled by one veterinary technician. You do it all in this field, okay? So the first is when you go to a hospital or a doctor's office or any place, someone is in reception, right? If you're an emergency hospital, a nurse is doing some form of triage on you. Admitting patients and doing triage is an area that veterinary technicians need to be able to do. Once you get to the exam room, typically you'll have a nurse or a medical assistant who's taking some basic vital parameters, maybe getting some history on you so that you can she can give that or he can give that information to the doctor. This is something the veterinary technician is going to be doing in a veterinary hospital. Treatments, everything, basically nursing care, giving medications, applying bandages, drawing blood, placing intravenous catheters, giving intravenous fluids and injections, everything that we think of that you associate with nurses, this is something a veterinary technician is going to be doing. The laboratory technician that runs tests, blood tests, urine tests, all of that, that's the veterinary technician. The pharmacy technician who both does some ordering for medications and also makes up medications for an owner to take home for their pet, that's a veterinary technician. Taking and developing films. So radiology tech in a human field is a whole nother job that someone just does that. It's just a piece of the job that a veterinary technician does. In the operating room, we can think about a lot of different types of nurses that would work in an operating room. You might have, so first of all, you'd have a doctor who's in charge of anesthesia. You would have a scrub nurse. You would have a circulating nurse. You might have someone who's assisting in surgery, handing the surgeon instruments. All of those, all of those different job descriptions are performed by veterinary technicians. Your dental hygienist, who cleans your teeth, charts your teeth and gingival recession and everything, and takes your dental x-rays. A dog or cat, that's a veterinary technician. And then some other things a lot of people don't think about: practice management and client education. These are things that are a little bit more office related, especially the practice management. But this is an area a lot of veterinary technicians kind of grow into once they've been working in a hospital for a number of years. And then client education is a part of the job from day one. And this is something that is incredibly important because everyone on the veterinary healthcare team needs to be providing accurate and consistent information if we have any chance of owners really providing the best possible care for their pets. We all need to be on the same team there and providing accurate and consistent information. So if you think back to all these different jobs that we talked about that veterinary technicians do, it becomes apparent, I think, pretty quickly that in order to become a good veterinary technician, you have to have some pretty good skill sets. Okay, so starting at the bottom here with client education, because that's one I hear about from people all the time, that they want to work in veterinary medicine because they don't like people. They like animals better than people. Yeah, I'm a member of that club. Almost all of us are. We all like animals, and most of us like animals better than people. But the truth is, every animal that we see comes attached to at least one person, if not more than one people. And so, you are always, this is a client service industry. You are always dealing with people in this field, and often under very stressful circumstances. And so, this actually is not a field that you should get into if you don't feel like you're capable of working with people in a customer service type of industry. And if you don't feel that you're able to communicate with people well, because that is absolutely a necessary part of this job day in and day out. You need to be strong in math. I mentioned that second because of how many students I have tell me, oh, I'm so bad at math, I hate math. You can hate math. That's fine. I don't care if you hate math. You can't be bad at it. Okay. You have to be able to do it because you will be doing it on a daily basis. And so hate math all you want, but make sure you have a strong background in it and you're willing to push through it because you will be doing a lot of math in this program and you will be doing a lot of math on the job. And not only that, the consequences of not being able to do the math are a lot more significant than, if you get a calculus problem wrong on a test or an algebra problem wrong on a test. Okay, it affects your grade. If you get these calculations wrong, your patient could get sick or die. All right, so these are, it's serious and we take it seriously. And I think it's really important for people to not brush off math when they are deciding whether this is in addition, you need to be aware that you're going to be in kind of a bustling hospital type of environment. In almost every veterinary hospital, you need to be a multitasker. You need to be a team player. You need to have good communication skills with your team. So this is something that a lot of people don't think about. They just think about how much they really love animals and they want to make them better, which is fantastic. But you really have to have all these other skill sets as well if you're going to be a good veterinary technician. All right. So if I haven't scared you off and you're still interested, you're like, all right, I'm in. This is for me. It's important to know that the veterinary technology program is a selective admissions program. That means that just saying I'm in isn't enough. You have to apply. All right. You have to apply and be accepted. And in order to even apply, you have to first complete some prerequisite courses. So we're going to talk about what those are in a second. So there are some courses you need to take. You need to pass them with a C or better, and then you need to apply to the program and be accepted. And applications are generally due in April for entry the following fall. So, for example, the students who are going to be entering the program this coming fall, their applications were normally due in April, but I've pushed it back because of all of the changes of everything to being online. I wanted to give students a little bit more time. So applications are due May 1st this year. And once we go through all of the applications, once we figure out how many spots we're able to offer, we make our decisions, and then those students are offered spots in the fall. We do generate a wait list as well, because there are some students whose life circumstances change, every year, and they initially get accepted to the program and then have to, for whatever reason, aren't able to enroll. So even if you do apply and make it to the wait list, that students do get into the program from the wait list every single year. All right, so these prerequisite courses, there are three of them that need to be completed before applying or while applying. So one is math, intermediate algebra. It can be a higher math course as well, generally speaking, but if it's anything other than intermediate algebra, you should just, this is true for all of these courses. If you've taken a higher level course that you want to substitute in for these, that's something that we'll go through on an individual basis and make sure that your courses are okay to transfer in. So the general prerequisites are the math, concepts of chemistry, and general biology. All right, these all need to have been completed within 5 years of entering the program, and they all need to be completed with a C or higher. If you get a C minus, cut it, okay? A C or higher. We do this because we're trying to set everybody up for success. All right, it's a rigorous academic program. We have students every year who start on it and aren't able to complete it. And so we are trying to do our best to ensure that the students who are enrolled in the program are strong enough academically to make it through, and they have the background information they need to make it. Now, remember we talked way back about students who want to go to UConn. So if you are interested in going to UConn as part of the animal science or pathobiology degree, they actually require a different chemistry. So this is where advising becomes really, really important. It's not that you can't do this chemistry course and still go to UConn, but it's going to cost you extra time. You're going to have to take a different chemistry course later on. All right, so we recommend people interested in applying to this program start talking to the pre-vet tech advisor as soon as you enroll at Northwestern so that we can make sure you are enrolling in the proper courses and not wasting your time or your money doing anything you're not going to need later. All right, so those are the three prerequisites. If you want to obtain credit for them, the simplest option is to take them at Northwestern, okay? Certainly if you've never done any college work before, you're starting from scratch, that's probably the easiest way to go about it. So you can, all of those courses are offered here. Many of them can be taken as a high school partnership depending on, where you go to high school. And so that's probably the simplest way to go about it. Now, if you've already done college work elsewhere, then it's possible that you've taken the courses that you need, even if they're not under the exact same names. And so we would review your transcript when you apply to Northwestern and determine if the courses you've taken would count or if you still have other prerequisite courses to take. In addition, if you are a high school student or recent high school student who has taken AP biology or AP chemistry, and you received a three or a higher on the AP exam, then we can waive that prerequisite. Okay, so there are kind of multiple ways to satisfy these prerequisite requirements. So if you are interested in pursuing this and you want to apply to the vet tech program, the first thing you need to do is apply to Northwestern as a college. That's a separate application from the vet tech program and it needs to be done first. So you will apply to Northwestern, and we strongly recommend that when you do that, you declare your major as pre-vet tech. The reason we do that, the reason we recommend that, is because then you will automatically receive as your advisor, your student advisor, Rebecca Russo. Okay, and she is the pre-vet tech advisor. She's going to be the one who is in the best place to take a look at your previous coursework and figure out what will count and what will not. She is the best person to help guide you in terms of any additional courses that you could start working on if you wanted to take additional courses other than just your prerequisites. So when you are in the vet tech program, there are many, many courses that are only open to people enrolled in the program. Okay, so you cannot take those ahead of time until you've applied and been accepted. But there are a handful of them that can be taken before you enroll. So a lot of the graduation requirements, like a social sciences or humanities elective, psychology, there's one veterinary course, veterinary medical terminology, that can be taken ahead of time. So these things are kind of changing even year to year right now. The college is undergoing some curriculum shifts, and Rebecca Russo is really going to be your best bet in terms of making sure you're getting the correct information, and again, not taking anything that you don't need to take, right? So we strongly recommend that you declare your major as pre-vet tech so that she will be given to you as your advisor, and you'll get the best advice that you need. And then once she's reviewed your transcript and told you what you have credit for and what you still need to take, then you start taking your prerequisite courses, whatever you need, okay? And then you're not done yet because you have to do well in them, all right? You have to get a C or better, first of all, even to apply. But we recommend obviously trying to do as well as you can, not only because this information is a good basis for a foundation for everything you're going to be learning, but because this is a selective program. Right now I have about 30 applicants for, I don't know how many spots we're going to have available quite yet, but it's probably going to be like 18 to 20. So that means that somebody who's applying with all C's is not going to have as good a chance of getting in as someone who's applying with A's and B's. Grades are not the most important thing, okay? And in being a veterinary technician, we've talked about all the other skills that are required, and we know that, and we keep, we have letters of recommendation, we have, personal essay, other things that we use to kind of assess your fit for the field. But the bottom line is we again only want to accept people who we think have a good chance of making it through the program. And what we've found is that historically, people who kind of skate through their prerequisites and just get a C, and all of them struggle in the program. You have to, once you're even in vet tech, you have to get a C or better in each course. And if you don't, and you get two chances and then you're out. Okay, so we don't want that to happen to anybody. So we make a point in our admissions process to try and admit people who we think are going to not only make good veterinary technicians, but have a high chance of success in the program. So you're going to begin working on your prereqs. You're going to do a good job in them and then apply in April, okay, for the following year. So that means what I recommend is, if you are interested in applying, say, for 2021 entry, starting maybe late fall of next year of 2020, start taking a look at the Vet Tech webpage, because I'm going to have the new application process up. I usually put it up by mid to late fall for the following year. So you can just take a look, see what's changed, see what's required, and start planning so that you can have your application in by April. Okay. So at this point, let me see if we have any specific questions that people have. So if you guys don't mind, I'm assuming if you put these questions in that you're okay with me kind of answering them. You're not being identified by name or anything. But I'll start going through kind of one by one, and then if you have any new questions, certainly just add them in, and I'll get to them at the bottom. Okay. So let's see. Starting the cohort this summer. Who's my advisor, as I need to register for classes? Okay, so probably I answered that already. So I'm assuming you mean by cohort, you mean the pre-vet tech cohort. So if that is what you're talking about, then yes, you need to make sure that you declare your major as pre-vet tech, and then you will begin Rebecca Russo as your advisor, and she will make sure you are signed up for the right classes. So I would definitely work on that right away, especially if you are hoping to take classes over the summer, because again, you want to make sure you're taking the right classes. So that would be the first thing that I would do. All right, let's keep going. Math 131 is the only one to have to be taken from. Yes, so if you mean the only math course. Um, so Math 131 or higher is the only math course required to be taken before applying. So there are, though, the additional biology and chemistry courses as well that are required. Um, wow, those are the only two questions that we have. Okay, so usually what happens in these types of things when I do open houses or orientations is nobody has any questions at all, and then I offer to stay at the end and talk some more, and then people wait and they want to ask me questions privately. So I got one more question, so let me answer. Once I finish answering any questions that come in, we'll kind of close it up in terms of allowing people who don't have any questions to leave, and then I can talk if that helps anybody feel like they have more private questions they wanted to ask. We can do that. Okay. As an incoming freshman, would you be able to apply for the vet tech program, or do you have to wait until at least your sophomore year um, to have all of the prereqs? So if you're coming in as a freshman, so I think the question is, if you were going to be a freshman in the fall, can you apply right now to just jump right to the vet tech program? And if you have completed all of the prereqs, then yes, you can. If you did them like as a high school partnership, for example. So say you did biology and math as high school, say you did biology and math, and you take chemistry over the summer, for example, you can do that. So that is possible, but for the vast majority of students who come to college for the first time and have not completed all of the prerequisites already, they spend that first year doing prerequisites and then taking additional other courses that are not that are required for graduation, but are not, um, you do not have to be part of the vet tech program to enroll them. Okay, so, and again, this is where having that pre-vet tech advisor really helps you out. So for example, you might sign up for math, bio, and chem during your first year. You might also take English 101. You might also take veterinary medical terminology, psychology. You might decide to get some of your some of your electives out of the way, social sciences or humanities electives. So there are a number of ways that you can fill your first freshman year to get the requirement, to get graduation requirements out of the way and make your last couple of years a little bit easier. But in that circumstance, it still will be 3 years for you to be able to complete this degree entirely. The only way to do it in just 2 years is to enter Northwestern having already taken or passed out of, with AP testing and math placement testing, to pass out of the requirement. That actually reminds me what I just said. I'm not sure that we talked about an option of passing out of math. There is an option whereby you can take a math placement test. I know that procedure is a bit been a bit altered right now because of COVID, so I'm not entirely certain when that will be taking place. But there is an option to take a math placement test and pass out of Math 137. And that would allow you still to pass in to take this program, to apply to this program with your Math 137 course being quote unquote completed. Okay, so that is an option as well that I don't think I mentioned earlier. So why should I choose NCCC? So that's a question I think that's just a general question. Um, I think the to me the strongest thing that we have as a veterinary technology program, because there are a few out there, there are a couple others in the state, there are some in Massachusetts, depending on where you live. I think the fact that we have an on-site hospital that allows you to learn the didactic, learn the knowledge based, and then transition right to the hands-on is really huge. We provide you with the opportunities to practice these skills in kind of a low stress way that a lot of other programs don't. So a lot of other programs, they'll send you out to externships and you kind of are a little bit more on your own in making sure you can get all of the opportunities that you need to complete all of the skills you have to complete. It's up to you to find that dog that you can draw blood on. It's up to you to find that dog that you can intubate. Whereas we provide those opportunities to our students here, and you get to practice them more on externships, but we provide the first learning experience here. So I think that that's a huge benefit for students who are interested in having a good background before they graduate and head out into the field. Okay, let's see. Hopefully I answered everybody's questions. If I didn't, please feel free. Oh, good. Okay, here we go. Boy, so the vet tech program takes 2 years, but that is not including the prereqs. Yes, that is correct. Can I take vet tech classes as a high school partnership student? Yes, as long as you are attending a high school that has that agreement with Northwestern. Not all high schools do, so you would just have to make sure that that is an option. And the admissions department at Northwestern is probably your best resource there in terms of letting you know whether you can complete courses as a high school partnership. Um, when I applied, I did apply for vet tech, but on my ComNet account, it says my major is general studies. Is that normal? So the pre-vet tech major is like a subset of general studies. So it's like general studies, pre-vet tech. It's like a whole long thing. If you look on ComNet and you look up your advisor, and your advisor is Rebecca Russo, then you are in the pre-vet tech cohort. If you look and your advisor is anyone other than Rebecca Russo, then that means you are not most likely in the pre-vet tech cohort, because we are putting all students that sign up as pre-vet tech with her. So there may have been kind of, you may have been accidentally put into a different cohort. So I would contact the admissions department. There's a simple form that you can fill out that will just make sure that you get where you need to be. Can you transfer credits from previous college experience for the elective classes? Yes, Absolutely. So they just have to meet the college requirements for transferability. Like you have to get a certain grade in them, and the admissions department essentially looks at the course that you took and decides, well, this will count as a social studies or social sciences elective, or this will count as a fine arts elective. So they look at that when you apply to the college and submit your transcripts. And what'll happen is once it's all been processed, you'll be able to look on your kind of transcript and see what you've gotten credit for. So as you guys are enrolled in pre-vet tech, you'll be enrolled in something called a degree works. There's a degree works plan for pre-vet tech students, and you'll be able to start looking on degree works, which you can get to from from my ComNet. You log into my ComNet, and then from that main screen you can get to your mail, um, to Blackboard, to Banner, and also something called DegreeWorks. And if you click on there, you'll be able to see all of the pre-vet tech requirements and make sure that you're meeting them. It's going to probably take a little while for most of you before you get onto that plan. So you don't need to look for that necessarily right away, because I know all of your transcripts have to be reviewed before your information is going to be put onto there. And I think that process might be a little bit slower right now with nobody being able to get in to work and do things. So, again, once you're admitted in the pre-vet tech cohort, Rebecca Russo is the one to ask about that. Make sure she has all of your previous college experiences. And once she's had a chance to review your transcript, then she'll give you transfer credit for anything that she can. All right. Full time. Sorry, I'm not sure. Let's see. Sorry. Can you? The average class size. Lectures generally run 18 to 24 is a full class. Some of them end up running smaller than that, but most of our full-time classes are 18 to 24 students. The lab courses are maxed out at 12 students for any patient labs. Any labs where you're working with animals generally. Large animal labs will sometimes be a little bit more than that, but you'll be separated into smaller groups. So it's really small numbers of students, and our instructor to student ratio is incredible. For anything where you're working with animals, there's going to be, especially small animals, one instructor per generally 4 students in the labs. If you transfer credits from another college, can the 2 years be potentially shorter? It depends what credits you transfer. If you transfer all of your prereqs, then yes, you can complete the program in 2 years. If you transfer things like your electives or psychology or something like that, the vet tech program will still take you 2 years to get through, because every semester builds on the last. So the courses you take in one semester require the courses from the previous semester, and we only offer each course once per year. So there's really no way to speed that process up. You have to complete semester 1, pass everything, then complete semester 2, pass everything, complete semester 3, pass everything, complete semester 4, pass everything, and then you graduate. And so there's no way really to speed that up. The only way to save time is to enter Northwestern having completed all of your prerequisites already, and then you can apply to the vet tech program right off the bat. Or will it just be a lighter class load? Yes, exactly. So what you would do if you transfer in a number of other credits, then your time in the vet tech program would be easier. So instead of having 3 vet tech classes or 4 vet tech classes plus 1 or 2 electives, you would just have your vet tech classes if you've already transferred in the other credits. So it will make your future semesters lighter and easier, which is generally speaking always a good thing. What is the schooling schedule full time? Would you be able to work at night? Absolutely. That's a great question. Currently all of our classes are during the day, and we anticipate it staying that way. We're not anticipating having any classes at night. We really haven't in the past either. If you are going full time, your first semester and your last semester, Your schedule will depend a little bit on how many of the other graduation requirements you've taken, because there are other courses fit in there, like English or microbiology or electives. So, your schedule will depend a bit on how many of those you've taken or not taken. The second semester and the third semester, so the spring of your first year and the fall of your second year, if you're full time, they're pretty much full time. You're here kind of all day for 4 days a week, or sometimes even 5 days a week, or you're here maybe for 2/3 of the day, 4 days a week. It varies a little bit year to year, but you're here most of the time. You can absolutely still work at night. You can absolutely still work weekends, obviously. We do some advising. I do some advising with students when they first enter, thinking about like how much time they need to set aside for studying, and how much it really is realistic to work while you're doing this. But you can plan on having your nights and weekends free, and the courses are generally most days of the week during that second and third semester. All right. So I don't think I've gotten any new questions at this point, and it's 6:46. So we've got a little bit more time if anybody did want to stay on and ask any more personal questions. And I can't promise like a completely private chat experience, but if most people log out, then and you want to stay and ask me any further questions, I'm more than happy to stay. We've got like 10 to 14 more minutes. Um, so anybody who doesn't have any more questions and is kind of all set, thank you for attending. I hope that was helpful. I hope that it kind of either sparked your interest or answered some questions, and let you know kind of whether this is really the field for you, and what you should be working on next to kind of work towards that goal. Um, if you have any questions about the field, and that's something that you can certainly email me. My email is on the vet tech webpage as well, but my email is acavanna, ACAVANNA, at nwcc.edu. But really, and most of those initial questions about previous coursework and apply, all that stuff really goes to Rebecca Russo. And so if you send it to me, I end up forwarding it to her. So really, she's the best person to go to for most of that. And then if anybody has any other questions and they want to hang on, please feel free to do so. Otherwise, have a great night, everybody, and thank you for joining us. And I hope to hear from all of you over the next couple of years as you apply and hopefully join the program. Good night.